All right, hi everybody. We're going to go over incorporating transitions today. We want to get our writing to flow. I know flow is kind of this word that doesn't necessarily mean anything on its own, but there's a kind of flow that really good writing has to it where everything leads naturally into the next section of writing, into the next section, into the next section. So we're trying to get our writing to become cohesive. And the easiest way to do this, a huge part of getting writing to be cohesive, is getting transitions in between your thoughts. Okay, so the purpose of expository writing, the purpose of essay writing as we do it, right? We've learned about argumentative writing in younger grades, where we're getting the gist of how to incorporate an argument into our writing. But really, what you do in high school is expository writing, where you're arguing an interpretation of the text that you're reading using evidence. You can do expository writing for nonfiction text. You can do expository writing, of course, for fiction text, as we are doing. And you are arguing your specific interpretation of the text, providing evidence to back that up. So you are arguing something, but it's not really argumentative writing in the sense of like, needing a counter argument and starting with a clever hook to get your reader interested. This is a lot more academic. It is a lot more text focused. And it requires some pretty heavy lifting on your end of getting your supporting evidence all lined up in support of your thesis. Sometimes what that winds up being like, is getting a ton of supporting evidence, and your body paragraphs all are beautifully written and have a nice supporting evidence and also go back to your thesis, but it's a little disjointed, right? Especially when we write very formulaically, meaning that, I've got my introduction, and then I've got my quote, and then I've got my analysis, and now I'm going to do my second paragraph, introduction, quote, analysis, third paragraph, introduction, quote, analysis. We get these little stopping points that don't necessarily all tie together. What we really want, remember, this is a roadmap. The thesis, your essay is guiding your reader through your argument. So you've got to, instead of just focusing on each individual point, which is really good, you should focus on each point, but you've got to also connect them all together with the road underneath. You've got to transition from one point to the next so that your argument makes sense, it's linear, it's cohesive, and it flows all the way from the beginning to the end. So how do we do that? Why do we do this? Well, so transitions establish logical connections between paragraphs. Transitions can be a great way at the end of a paragraph. Conclusions are sometimes the hardest things to write. At the end of a paragraph, instead of thinking about a way to summarize the whole paragraph, think about a way to transition to the next idea. Think about a way in which that idea can bring you into the next one. Transitions signal relationships between ideas. This can happen within a paragraph as well, especially if you've got two pieces of evidence within a paragraph. You're going to want to transition between the two of them instead of just saying, okay, I now analyzed one, time to introduce the next. We want to, move cohesively throughout ideas. You want to provide the cues to your reader about how all of your stuff fits together. Well, in one paragraph, you're talking about, if you're talking about one concept in one paragraph, how does that fit into the next concept in the second paragraph? So give these transitions to let a through line happen for your readers. So take a look at these paragraphs. We're going back to my onion example. Take a look at these paragraphs without a transition. Okay. This isn't terrible, but it would be so much better if there was a way that we could connect the two of them together. Okay, so let's just take a look at the very end. This is the same paragraph that I used from the embedding evidence example. In fact, recognizing the importance of onions in stew is foundational to respecting the vegetable as a central player in aromatic cooking. Okay, this is a good concluding sentence, right? It's brought in the whole idea. It's connecting it back to my thesis, wherever that is. The next paragraph. Garlic has a bad reputation for being overbearing, both in dishes and on breath, but most people do not realize that it can be cooked down to a much milder flavor. Okay, again, this is something that people do realize, but for the purpose of this example, I'm arguing now in this paragraph, I know from my topic sentence, this paragraph is going to be about garlic, and it's going to be about the fact that, as my previous paragraph was, cooking garlic can help improve the quality of the vegetable, or of the allium. I'm not sure you would call garlic a vegetable. It's a different question for a different day. Now, these aren't, awful, but there's no way to know where the through line is. I'm leaving it up to my reader to fill in the context and understand what my through line is without actually showing them. So the easiest way to get somebody on your page in an argument is to just show them what the through line is. Ooh, why'd that go away? There we go. Here's a transition sentence. However, comma, because we put commas after our transitional words, as we learned yesterday. However, in order to understand the complete depth of flavor and aromatics, the complete depth of flavor aromatics provide, other alliums must be considered. Garlic is also an allium, garlic, shallots, onions. In order to understand the complete depth of flavor these things provide, you've got to consider other alliums. Okay. Now we've gotten back to this depth of flavor idea with the onions, and we've transitioned over into talking about other alliums. And the next sentence in the next paragraph is about garlic. So you can see how this sentence not only wraps up the previous paragraph, it also introduces the concept of the next paragraph. And that is what makes a transition. That's what a successful transition is, one that carries you through the idea into the next. Okay, so this is a reference guide. This is something that you can continue to refer back to, kind of like our commas checklist. This is an incomplete list again. I think it would be awful to try to fit every single transitional word on a slide. But these are common transitional expressions that you can use to connect all of your ideas together. Again, these can go within a paragraph, or these can go after a paragraph before your next paragraph. So take a look at these, use these when you think they're appropriate, and try not to repeat the same expression throughout your essay. If every single transition is then, or next, or however, also, it gets a little repetitive. You can think of better ways, you can think of more varied ways, especially when you look at this chart, to transition between your ideas. I hope this helps.